Hey, what's going on, guys? Crass Businessman here. Today we're going to discuss how to set SMART goals. So today's quote of the day is, "If you set goals and go after them with all the determination you can muster, your gifts will take you to places that will amaze you." And that's by motivational speaker Les Brown. He's actually one of my favorites. So I said I was going to cover SMART goals, and today we're finally going to get to it. My apologies. It was quite a trying day. You're probably going to detect an undertone of fuckery. But SMART. I'll get into the SMART goals. So SMART is actually an acronym. This term was first coined in 1981 by George T. Duran in an article titled, "There's a Smart Way to Write Management's Goals and Objectives." In this article, he covered a definition of what it was. The original definition was, or the original parameters were specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. And I'm going to break down each term and show the importance and the proof of why these are more effective techniques for setting goals. Now, first off, what do we usually do when we set a goal? Because the fact is that we kind of don't. Usually, for the most part, the majority of us, we make a really vague wish and we just kind of hope it turns out the way we want, with really no actionable steps and no real clarity. For example, I hear this all the time. People say, "I want to get in shape." That's not a fucking goal. I mean, first of all, it's not specific enough. Specificity is important as it defines the endpoint. I mean, how would you even be able to tell whether you've achieved the goal or not? You've got no lateral limits. And that's why the first letter in SMART is S. It's, of course, it's a specific. Make sure your goal has particularly specific terms that don't get blurred over time. I mean, after all, if you say, "I want to get in shape," I mean, if you're shaped like a pear, that's still a shape, right? Technically. So a better start to that would be, "I want to lose 20 pounds of fat." It's more specific. And this also ties into the next parameter, which is the M, stands for measurable. Measurable would indicate that you can quantify progress. So for example, saying, "I want to get down to 8% body fat," is something you can physically test. Same goes for, "I want to lose 20 pounds of fat." You can actually see the scale to see whether you're gaining or losing weight. And now the next parameter, achievable, is a little interesting because it can cause a potential conflict when thinking about it. Because I believe truly that, and it's actually been demonstrable in many ways, that given enough time, energy, and effort, basically anything is achievable. So for the purposes of goal setting, we're going to define it a little bit better, and we're going to say that it's referring to within the realm of reasonable physical possibility. So for example, if you might be able to deadlift, 800 pounds after years of intense training, but you're not going to be able to deadlift, 20,000 pounds. It's just not possible. Your physical body has limitations. So, for the sake of argument there, it just can't be done. So when it comes to achievable, they need to be things that are actually possible, not just, far-fetched or unlikely. Now the next parameter is R. It's realistic, which that's the original term, and I fundamentally reject it because realistic thinking is subjective, and to many it can be extremely limiting and fly right in the face of innovation. Because, for example, if it were like the mid to late 1800s, and you were to say, "Hey, I want to invent a horseless carriage," everyone would call you fucking crazy because that's not realistic, and probably lots of other negative things they would call you. But in 1885, Carl Benz from Germany created the first gas automobile. So I don't think that realistic is necessarily a great way to think. The counter-argument is basically that if you set your sights too high, you might get disappointed. Okay, fair enough, that might be true in some cases, but your goals above and beyond the SMART parameters should also be large enough to where the payout is actually fucking worth it. Because if you set goals that are too small, of course you're going to get let down if you don't achieve them. I mean, they're too small. They don't even fucking matter. If you set huge goals, more often than not, you'll at least end up way further ahead than you were before. So I usually like to say realistic, which is bound to, it's bound to the next letter, which is time bound. But going back to the deadlift example, if you want to deadlift, 800 pounds, but then you say, "Hey, I want to deadlift 800 pounds tomorrow," that's not realistic because it's not going to be done tomorrow. You have to give yourself enough time. So when I say time-bound, my go-to example is, when you ask someone if they want to travel. And they always respond, oh, I want to travel when I get time. But you're never going to get fucking time. You got to make the time. And so a great goal might sound like this. I want to lose 20 pounds of fat by March 3rd. The time parameter is going to increase pressure, and then you have a clear-cut goal of what to look at. But actually, just because you create a good goal doesn't mean that you're likely to achieve it. You actually need to implement an action plan that has doable, actionable steps that are going to mathematically lead to your end result. I say mathematically for a specific reason, because if I say, I'm going to cut out all fast food, which will reduce my simple carb intake by more than half, it allows my body to lose fat at approximately a quarter pound a day. By March 3rd, that will amount to 20 pounds. Those aren't the actual numbers, I'm just giving an example. You want to set yourself on a path to where there's no question, it's not a bunch of opinion, it's not a bunch of hopeful, wishful, guessing and thinking. It's, actual measurable steps to get there. So Monday morning, I'm going to discuss how to make a great action plan. So the challenge for today is create a SMART goal. And let me know what challenges you guys face. But that's going to be it for this video today, guys. I've been stumbling through it, and I'm just trying to get it over with. Once again, I'm Crass Businessman. Please like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, stay productive.